Emancipation Day is a day of profound significance, celebrated in various countries to commemorate the abolition of slavery and the emancipation of formerly enslaved people. It's a day marked by reflection, celebration, and remembrance, recognizing the resilience and struggles of those who fought for freedom. It is now widely recognized and accepted that the transatlantic trade in enslaved Africans represents one of the gravest atrocities in modern history. This profoundly profitable enterprise inflicted unparalleled social, psychological, spiritual, and physical brutality upon Africans as a targeted ethnic group.
In St. Kitts and Nevis and in the whole of the Caribbean, we was under chattel slavery. People would say chattel slavery started with the second voyage to St. Kitts in 1493, not 1492. 1492, when Columbus came to the Caribbean, he didn't land in St. Kitts that year. He came to St. Kitts in 1493, actually. And on that second voyage, he might have already recognized that because the first voyage, he thought he was going to India, and they say he ended up in these parts of the world, and that's why they call us the West Indies.
The Caribbean played a central role in the profound human tragedy of the transatlantic slave trade and slavery. According to Ras Sankofa, the signing of the Emancipation Act in 1833 and it taking effect 1 year later in 1834 did little to ease the suffering and meet the immediate needs of newly emancipated Africans.
When we did get emancipation, it took years before we was able to even get lands. You know, we didn't get emancipation and we get lands one time. There were so many years that slavery continued after emancipation because you emancipate the slaves, but they don't have no lands. So whatever wage they would get, they would have to pay back to pay for where they were staying, because these people want to kick them off the land, or they had to stay on the land for wages. But it was minute wages, so it was still like slavery, because it wasn't enough making no wage where you could actually live a comfortable life.
He told ZIZ News that the journey to emancipation was hard-fought and long. Because of this, he finds it concerning that there is still cause for many to ask, are we really free?
Even though Simmons gave us independence in 1983, we still remained a commonwealth to the British Empire, which was have us in another form of slavery, economic slavery, because a lot of times the monies that we collect, still a percentage have to go to the Queen, which is for the lands, and the Crown lands, and the Queen representative, which is the Governor General. So the reality, when we're going to be truly not slaves and truly not indentured servants and truly emancipated, is when we could actually own our own economics fully, meaning fully control our rights to making money, rights to our own social system. Even the prison system is still called Her Majesty, but His Majesty now, prison. So once you are Commonwealth, we don't have full legitimate ownership of our nation state. We're still under the British law.
The Rastafarian elder also finds it worrying that in the year 2024, St. Kitts and Nevis doesn't have total and free control of its affairs.
When you check it out, the Constitution of St. Kitts and Nevis, the Queen signs. The Queen is the head authority, and the second in charge of St. Kitts is the Governor General. Don't make no joke about it. The Prime Minister cannot be sworn in unless the Governor General sworn them in. And we had situations where, like that, where the Governor General them didn't want to swear in the person who was in charge at that time. So it delayed certain things from happening. We went through chattel slavery, but the Africans went through colonization. And for many years, for the same amount of years that we was going to the chattel slavery, they was going to colonialism. So you see that great split?
He said St. Kitts and Nevis' struggles were many post-emancipation. While he agrees with those who think that the two island states should no longer be called St. Christopher and Nevis, Ras Sankofa believes that more meaningful changes are needed for the Federation to truly thrive.
Even more than changing the name comes when we're going to change our constitution. to be a sovereign nation, where we make our own decisions for ourselves. Even if we change the name under and still be a Commonwealth, we're still going to be subservient to the British Empire. We have to change St. Kitts and Nevis' name when we change the constitution, control our own state, control our economic power, and actually be able to diversify our people in different ways of making our economy. Because we know the sugar didn't work for us for so many years. The cotton, we tried that. That didn't work for us either. So now we have to just diversify our economy and try to become a nation state so that we can actually do things that can benefit our people.
While noting with pride the progress made in the Federation, Ras Sankofa also voiced his longing for St. Kitts and Nevis to return to some of its core traditional values.
One of the main things I would like to see happen in St. Kitts is for us to go back to the way that we used to live so that we could have less crime. And it's basically a lifestyle change that created that situation. So if we could go back to that communal state, I know it's an old-time saying and we use it so much, it takes a village to raise a child. It's an African adage, and it's a reality. So there's a lot of things happening, but I think the social issues that we have comes from basically the change in not just the environment, because it's not the environment, it's the working environment, how people are working now. Because I remember back then, there was a period of time you go out to work, you was given the time to come home and get lunch. Give your children lunch before they go back to school. There was that. They work in the fields at early in the morning, they feed the children, and then they go to school at a particular time, and then they came back home.
He said the impact of slavery is still felt today. While he supports calls for reparations, Ras Sankofa believes that a holistic approach is needed. This, he explained, will ensure that the descendants of formerly enslaved Africans can be financially compensated, but also given the tools to heal mentally and spiritually from the atrocities their ancestors were forced to endure.
We talk about reparations, and when people talk about reparations, they only look on it in a financial setting. They're not looking at reparations in the sense of repairing the damage.
The observance of Emancipation Day varies by country, each with its unique historical context and traditions. In the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, Emancipation is celebrated on the first Monday of August. On St. Kitts, the occasion is marked by an annual concert, while the celebration of Emancipation is tied into Culturama festivities on the island of Nevis. According to Ras Sankofa, more should be done to mark the significance of Emancipation Day. He said we have to know where we're from, to know who we are and where we're going. I am Dion Batiste Clark, reporting for ZIZ News.